Hello, folks. Tonight we're looking at, more or less, Seagram's gin. Now, I put mine in the freezer, and I'll tell you why. Seagram's gin, extra dry, the original Seagram's gin. Now, there's a little story behind it, and before I start talking, blabbing my mouth, we have Eric from Massachusetts.
I actually have Tanqueray gin, as I could not find a small bottle of the Seagram's gin tonight.
That was very disappointing.
Me too. Me as well.
And we have John from Zone 1.
So you kind of caught me off guard a little bit but I got this big bottle of gin. It's from Royal Cellars Gin. This is about a third bottle left. This bottle is an original bottle from 1984 that still has gin in it.
Nice.
Good grief. And then we have Rod J, who does Rod J's beer reviews. Now, so we've got, what do you have, Rod?
Seagrams.
Somebody got it.
Good man.
Someone got it right. Now, so we got Rod from Kentucky, John from Indiana, Eric from Massachusetts, myself from Louisiana Liquor Reviews. I guess we could call it that. Louisiana Beer Reviews, and sometimes sherry, and sometimes port, and sometimes marsala, and sometimes vermouth, and sometimes brandy, and sometimes. All right.
Never bourbon.
Not yet. I told you in 12 years. Now, and I'm not making a joke or being flip. It's really just going to. I'm estimating it's going to take me about 12 years to get through all the brandy and cognac and the sherry. I mean, literally.
Oh, all the brands, yep.
Yeah, because it just like proliferates, and then you say, "Oh my goodness." Now, I'll give a little background to this. Okay, most of us were mainly known. You know, when NBC calls me, it's about beer. Okay, so, or when CNN calls Eric or whatever, you know, they're calling us about beer because we're known for doing beer reviews. But we can't help ourselves. We have to branch off into these other little areas because we're interested in it.
Sure.
So I was 2 weeks ago. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. I was in Kenner, which is a western suburb of New Orleans. It's very close to New Orleans. And John drove through Kenner when he was going to New Orleans in April. He probably didn't know it, but that's where you drove through Kenner.
Okay.
Interstate. I was on the old interstate, US 61. So I stopped in this little place called Brothers. It's a convenience store, and I wanted to see what kind of stuff they had. It's kind of a crummy, or what you call a seedy area.
Yeah.
But not necessarily too dangerous or anything, so I wasn't like scared or anything going in it. But it's not like a nice place. But they supposedly have good fried chicken. Anyway, I went in there, and as soon as I walked in, to my right, this lady has a booth set up, and she says, "Would you like to have a tasting, try a tasting of Seagram's gin?" And you know, it was an official booth with the, you know, they have tastings in places. And I was stunned. I'm like, they have tastings in this kind of place? I didn't say it, but I thought it. You know, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And all the different flavors, and then the original. I said, well, yeah. And I said, give me the original. And so she poured, and that's what people always ask me, how can you do beer reviews in a store? Well, in Louisiana, you can't drink in a store, obviously, but you can do tastings all day long. So I took a shot of it, and I thought, and I had never had gin in my life. I thought, hey, you know, that tastes pretty good. So that got my mind thinking I had always seen this thing here. You know, your whole life, this is a common brand.
Yeah.
I never drank it. So I started researching it, and I found out that it was introduced in 1939, although the Seagram's company was founded in 1857. That's what I thought it was. And they had a bunch of different types of liquor. So the Seagram's family had sold out in like 1926, I believe, because the original guy died and they didn't really want to run it. So this other family bought it, and they turned it into this even huger company, like huge, you know. So
with all their alternative drinks and whatnot.
Yeah, so Seagram's became the #1 gin in America, and it's been like that for decades. Okay. And it's priced at a good price for people to buy it.
Yes, it is.
Not the cheapest, you know, cheapest. It's not like Crystal Palace gin, this gutter stuff. But it's
Yeah.
not the best either. It's not like you say, Tanqueray is about twice as much, or
Yeah, I think the 1.75 liter bottle of the Seagrams gin in my area was like 19.99, so that's not bad at all. And it wasn't even, and it was a glass bottle. It wasn't even a plastic bottle.
Right.
So it's a little bit nicer that way.
and the Bombay Sapphire is about twice as much. But it's Seagram's. From my impression is that Seagram's gin is sort of like the Budweiser of gin. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not the best, but far from the worst. So this big company, they got like dumb. You know, they started buying out. And this person says, Justin Sharp says, I have never seen the gin here, only the breezers. Things I wonder where to look. I would say look at any liquor store in America and you're going to see this gin.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very common. So they had started buying all kind of stuff that wasn't related to liquor, like television networks and all of this entertainment stuff. And they got kind of overwrought, overdone. And I'm sure they had such a debt load that in the year 2000, the company sort of collapsed, and they started getting bought out. So the Seagram's brand, from what I can understand, is owned by different companies, okay?
Mm.
Now, if you look at the bottle, it says Pernod-Ricard of Fort Smith, Arkansas, but it's really Pernod-Ricard of France. So, anybody ever had this before? Because I only had that little taste at the store.
I've actually had the Seagrams a couple of times when I had a 7 or the big liter bottle of it, and I thought it was. I mean, I didn't think much of it. Again, I am also doing a gin and tonic, and I thought it worked. In my mind, I thought it worked best as a mixing kind of a gin. And I don't usually think about. I know that's what you wanted to do tonight, Jay. I normally don't think about gins as just going to, say, like a bar and getting like a shot of gin. I don't normally think of it that way.
Well, I didn't know. But
I used to bartend, so I've had it before.
I've never had the extra dry. I've had the regular gin.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Is there something, like, I'm not popping up, so I don't know if there's something you did on your end, on your moderator?
Well, sometimes when you see it, you don't see what we're seeing. You are popping up when you talk.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, because when I do hangouts with you, sometimes it looks like I'm not popping up, but I am really. So it's something weird. We're in such an early stage of the internet here in 2016. Everything looks wrong.
But to what Eric has said, you know, when I used to bartend, we used Seagrams a lot in a lot of mixed drinks that we would make. So it's a real big mixing type alcohol. You rarely see someone take it straight.
Well, here's what they say on the website. And there's also one called Seagram's Private, something like Private Reserve. It's a much like higher level one, and they talk about that. But they say it's distilled at a low temperature to preserve the botanicals' rich aromas. They age it in white oak casks, which gives this spirit its mature flavor and light amber color. Now, here's what they say about drinking it. You can enjoy it neat, which is straight. You can lengthen it in a mixer or in cocktails. And so we're drinking the extra gin, or you can do the Distiller's Reserve. So they're saying you can have it neat, but on the Seagram's brand website, they were talking about you might want to put it in the freezer. So
Yeah, I put mine in the freezer. I'm actually having it neat right now, but I did put mine in the freezer as well.
So I put mine in the freezer. I'm gonna
Usually
pour
like gin and vodka, both I'll put in freezers.
See, I like mine straight up right off the shelf. I don't want it chilled.
You don't want this.
I want it room temperature. But I'm actually drinking mine as a martini, so I've got
Excellent.
Cue
to Rat Pat music.
Bacon nut stirred.
a couple of more things. This gin is noted for its kind of rumpled bottle.
Yes.
texture.
Yeah.
Like a unique, sort of like a houndstooth wool jacket, but it's in the bottle. It's just kind of
Like a
interesting.
basket weave.
Yeah, and it's a really old school label. You know what I mean? Like, it's classic.
Yeah, the
Now,
website says extra smooth and mellow since 1939.
so we're talking about
Been around for a long time, yeah.
almost 80 years.
Yep.
77 years now.
Is it considered? I didn't want to cut you off there, but I can't really find it on the website. Is this considered a London dry gin, or is it a different style altogether? Because it just says extra dry. It doesn't mention anything about a London style.
Oh, like Gordon's?
Yeah, so maybe this isn't done to a London dry recipe.
See, the one I'm drinking, Eric, it is distilled London dry gin.
Gotcha. Because I know there are different. I don't know the entirety of gin, but I know that London dry just isn't the only kind of a gin that you can drink in its style.
Well, how about this? How about we do it like this? Rajay and myself will do the aroma and the taste, and then since you two guys didn't have the Seagrams, you can kind of like counterpoint what we're finding in our aroma and flavor with what you're getting.
Sure.
Sounds sensible. Now I could get it cheaper per ounce at Walmart, because at Walmart it was much cheaper per ounce if you bought the bigger bottle, but then of course you got the bigger bottle. So I just bought this 200 milliliter bottle, and it was $3.99. Not the best price, but not terrible. Oh yeah.
That's a lot of information I just
That is a lot of information, yeah.
Wow.
Read all that.
Yeah, there's London dry gins, and then there's a distilled gin, which is done in a little different fashion, but we can get into that, some other time, I guess.
Yeah, and it's the flavor with the gin is the juniper berries, and they've done that with some of the beers, haven't they?
Yep.
Yeah, I've had some of those.
Okay, well, this is Rod J's first time joining my group, and I really appreciate it, Rod J, and it's fun to be in his group. So you give us the aroma and taste, and you said you used to bartend, so you have a lot of familiarity with this product. And one more thing, the cheapest gins around here are not Seagrams. The cheapest gins are these things like Mims.
Oh, yeah.
Taka.
Wow.
And even if you live under a bridge, they've got Crystal Palace.
That's not what they call the bridge, a Crystal Palace?
What
happened?
This gin back years ago.
Huh?
Yeah.
I used to buy this gin back years ago because I was a big gin aficionado back years ago. I really liked my gin, but it's called Gillsby's.
Gillsby's.
Yeah, it was real. It's kind of like, I guess, the malt liquor of gin.
Yeah, Gordon's gin's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And that's the #1 in the world, by the way, Gordon's. You were talking about Buffalo Trace Special bourbon cream, and that made me think about Sazerac. If you ever want to spend some interesting time, get on the internet and look up the Sazerac Company's website.
Yeah.
Headquartered in New Orleans, I might add. But they own so many brands. You'd be like, what? I can't believe this.
Didn't they just buy Southern Comfort, I believe. That's a different story, but we can get back on the gin.
Yeah, they did. That was a huge buyout. Okay, so Rajay, we turn the floor over to you for a little bit.
Well, I mean, this is kind of different because I'm usually doing beers, but I mean, the aroma that I get off of it, and maybe that I'm used to using before, I mean, I get that strong alcohol smell, but to me, it just, I guess it smells more just like medicine or alcohol, really. It's not anything
like a rubbing alcohol, almost.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it really smells like. It's not anything like an aroma that I'm getting like any type of fruit or anything like that out of it.
None of the botanicals.
No.
I was getting that. Rod, let me give you my aroma assessment.
Mm-hmm.
When I first popped that bottle open and I smelled it, I could smell those spices, those herbal things right off the bat. And then as I poured it in the glass, well, oh boy, look at these alcohol eggs. It has the medicine cabinet. You cut your leg and you're at the doctor's office and you're waiting for him to come in, and you can smell all the antiseptic. You're going to get that with a lot of these things.
Right.
Underneath, I'm getting some, like I said, those people are going to say, herbs. Are you stupid?
I guess you could say a little bit of a floral type thing.
I'm not stupid. I'm ignorant because I don't know enough about gin, but I know they've got those spicy. That's why they add the berries. So it's got
according to this website called underthelabel.com. I'm looking at this website and I'm looking at the Seagrams Extra Dry Gin, and they claim that they use juniper, orange peel, coriander seed, orris root, angelica seed, lemon peel, and cinnamon.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm picking up citrus. I do get citrus. I'm telling you.
I was going to say the one thing I'm getting off of it now is more like thinking about being outside. It's kind of like a dandelion type smell.
Yeah.
But the more yours cool, the more yours, you know, 'cause you guys pulled yours out of the refrigerator. I mean, the more that it heats up, the more flavors that I think you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, it's starting to come out a little bit more as it's warming up for sure.
Yeah. I just put it in the freezer because that's what they were saying on the website. They said they didn't say you had to do it. They just said you might want to do that. And I thought, well, that could be interesting because I remember they had that Kiss song called Cold Gin. And, you know, it's cold gin time again.
Yeah, definitely the gin and tonic has a different smell from the ice than on my shot glass of Tanqueray for sure. You're right, John.
So let's go to John and Eric, and I don't know if y'all are mixing them or what. But.
Well, I've got a distilled London dry gin, and I've actually got extra dry vermouth in mine because I kind of like the martini part of it. But you know what? Mainly what I get out of it is you get the grains. You get the big alcohol smell in it. But I mean, I don't really receive any fruit notes or anything like that. I just mainly is the, like you guys said, the medicine cabinet type, the big grains, the big alcohol taste out of it, and that's just about it. I mean, you can't say much more than that. I mean, it's very dry.
Yeah, mine's the Tanqueray, and that's actually. It's called Tanqueray. It's a Tanqueray London Dry, but it's their special dry, which in Canada and the United States it's a 47.3% ABV, so it's a little bit stronger than your Seagrams. And the thing that I'm noticing, this is just a room temperature shot glass of it. The thing that I'm noticing, going off of that medicine cabinet thing. I guess I would kind of be noticing like the hydrogen peroxide, like stuff that you use as an antiseptic to clean the cuts or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I am getting a little bit. Let me get some of that information out. But I am getting a little bit of the piney. I'm getting a piney note. I've heard people say that the Tanqueray has a little bit more of a piney note, and that's obviously from the juniper.
Yeah, that's what I was just kind of getting, like dandelion, some of that pine.
Yeah, something grassy, antiseptic, something grassy, and juniper. Although I know that doesn't sound very appealing just on the nose alone for you.
Well, it's almost like when you cut the grass, you're getting that kind of aroma there.
Yep. So that's exactly what I'm getting, and I'm liking the smell of it. It incorporates better to me when you put lime or some kind of a mixer in there with the ice, but it's definitely pretty abrasive just straight from at room temperature.
John Sharon, what was that vermouth you had? Is that Gallo extra dry?
That's Martini and Rossi extra dry.
There you go.
Martini and Rossi. Yeah, I have a little interest in vermouth, and I might start looking at that a little bit more. I did 2 video reviews of extra dry and a rouge vermouth, you know, the red.
That's what this is. This is an extra dry.
Yeah, those are really interesting. But let's look at the flavor because I'm fascinated right now because my experience with gin is practically nil.
Yeah.
Consists of the shot I took at the Pelican store, and I want to say, look, this is interesting though. You know, companies might say, is it even worth our while to do a tasting? Well, apparently it was because the people that were coming into the store seemed very enthusiastic about tasting.
Yeah.
And what did it do? It made me think about it and go buy the bottle, and now we're tasting it. So I was like, yeah, this worked. Otherwise, I would have never probably tried it, you know.
My question is, how would you like to do this tasting? Do you want to sip on your ounce of gin? Do you want to do the shooter of it and get the flavor of that, or how do you want to?
No, I'm sipping on it, and I'm rolling it around in my mouth, and right off the bat.
I won't shoot it then. All right.
Well, I think it depends on how you're actually enjoying it. But the one thing I was going to say is with gin, the good thing with it, and this goes back to when I used to bartend, between gin and vodka, they're probably 2 of your more versatile liquors you can use. So when you add things to it, it actually works well to cover up a lot of that taste of the gin, just like it does with vodka. So most people would think they may have had gin, but if you had like a Tom Collins, it's used in a Tom Collins.
Yes.
and you really don't get that gin taste out of it. And some of the drinks they use it with a lot of juice type drinks where it can just actually just get absorbed so easily and take over the flavoring of that juice you may have used in it or the sours you may have used into it, which makes it really nice when you're bartending.
Do you think that's why these bars use, if you go into these bars, I mean, even some nice places in New Orleans, you look down there and look what they're using to mix. They're using Mims gin and Crown Rus vodka, and they use those cheapest ones because all the mix covers up, maybe if it's kind of cheap and yucky.
Yeah, that's what they call a house gin or a house vodka.
Yeah, it's like their house level, so it's your cheapest one or your call level. And
so
then you would come up to the next one, and then the one on top, you'd have your top shelf.
Right. So, but they use that, and in the mix, the customer wouldn't really pick up if it's inferior or something, right?
No, because it would take over the characteristics of whatever flavor they're using for it.
And the people just want the alcohol anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing you can do with giving somebody Absolute, Smirnoff, or Popov. If you're putting in the right juice drink, those juice flavors are going to take over, so you're going to kind of neutralize whatever alcohol you're using, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that must be the case because I see a lot of these places in New Orleans, they use Crown Rus vodka. And I said, Crown Rus, it's so cheap. And I bought a bottle one time, and I said, oh, boy.
But think about their markup, right? Because if they're a bottle of it's probably like one of those big jugs for like $9.99 or something, and each person they're charging probably like $5 to $6 a drink, so they're getting a hell of a markup off of it.
So it's like almost pure profit.
Yeah, it's like jewelry business.
And probably by the time they buy cases of that, so they're probably getting it cheaper than that. So they're probably selling one drink for what they're paying for the whole bottle. So
exactly.
Oh man, the Sazerac company must be making a killing off of this kind of stuff. But anyway, I wanted to drink it neat because I wanted to see what does this taste like.
Well, tell us about the gin then. I want to hear it.
Well, you're about to hear it right now.
Wait.
I actually like drinking it neat. It's actually has a great mouthfeel on it. It really does open up nicely.
Yeah, I like when I switched it around my gums and everything, right off the bat, I'm picking up herbal. I'm picking up herbs and spices, okay?
Yep.
It is not just booze, alcohol. Yeah, let's get drunk, man. It is not that. It is not that. It's got the herbs, the spices. There is definitely citrus in this. Okay? Now I know they have all these.
I'm getting a lemon now.
Yeah. It has an interesting body, and it finishes like, well, obviously it's extra dry, but I mean it's really pleasant.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if I do all these hard liquors, I'm going to drink them all straight because I want to really experience the item. Now, sometimes you'd be so sorry that you did it. Like when I do the brandies, and I bought that cheap brandy. I just knew it was going to be bad. I said, I'm going to buy it anyway because if bums can drink it, I can drink it. I bought that Hartley's from Italy. Well, look, everything that comes out of Italy isn't good. Mussolini came out of Italy, and Hartley's came out of Italy, and the Mafia came out of Italy. And that's three bad things. And the Hartley's was probably the worst of the three because it was like a nightmare. Anyway, enough of that rant and rave. Now, but it was like, in a way, it's like they went all out in their badness. They didn't just make it kind of bad. They said, we're going to make it completely bad. And they did a remarkable job in that sense. Now, question for Rod from Justin Sharp. As an old bartender, do you believe that a martini should be made classic with gin, or is there a place for vodka in martinis?
It's a preference. They actually make both styles nowadays. So when I used to bartend, we would actually use gin more, but we'd always give the option. Some people say they have a preference for whatever vodka they might want to use versus a gin, but totally up to the client. I think gins are better than martini, personally.
Oh, that's why in a movie they'll say he's drinking a vodka martini.
Yeah.
Because there's two types, okay.
Your James Bond movies, he's drinking gin.
Good man.
Shaken, not stirred, right?
So he's drinking gin, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now Rod's going to give us his taste, and then John and Eric.
Well, on the taste, I do get that spice. I do get that citrus now. as it warms up. It's got a great duration of flavor that you can sit there and really enjoy it. I almost feel like I should be sitting in a back room as a banker or something and just like counting money. I mean, it's got a kind of a nice sensation around it. You can kind of see where these fat cats were probably back there doing this and just drinking gin while they were cashing in on stuff. And it's got a great body to it. You don't want to really rush it, of course, with it being a liquor, and you want to sit there and enjoy it, and it makes it real easy to do it. I don't know why more people may not drink it as neat and straight instead of diluting it. It's kind of like here in Kentucky, you know, we have makers, and so my wife always laughs at people when they put makers and Coke together. It's like, you know, you shouldn't be mixing that kind of thing. You should drink it the way it's supposed to be drank, and I think the same way with, like you're saying, Ron, maybe go out and enjoy these first before you add it, and then before you add anything to it so you can really enjoy it. But the flavor on it is very nice. It's smooth. I mean, it is, like they say on here, what, extra smooth? It's pretty smooth. You can easily sit back and enjoy it for a good period of time. You know, usually I would drink more whiskey. I used to drink a lot of different whiskeys, and I can see where those, after a certain point, become more harsh, you know, as you start to go up the scale. And this one, you can probably pace yourself nicely and sit back and enjoy it for a good period of time.
So it's kind of a,
Yeah.
it seems like it's a well-made product, even though it's super macro.
Yeah, I think it is a well-made, and, you know, to compare it against another liquor, I would compare it against, like, maybe vodka, which I love vodka as well. But I would actually prefer probably drinking this over some of the vodkas out there. I think it's got a little bit more of a smoother taste to it. So,
Wow.
not that vodka's bad. I just think it's really got a nice smoothness. I think you picked a good one to check out tonight. 'Cause I haven't had Seagram since back in college when I bartended. So we used to bartend for a lot of the professors. So a lot of professors would drink a lot of gin and tonics, gin on neat or on ice or something. So it's a good one. Or we make some of the mixed drinks when we do comedy clubs and stuff.
Yeah, that Under the Label website says that it's about, we're $7.50. It's about an estimated $12, which would, I don't know at a bar, but at least if you do the math, the cost per shot, if you were going to do a shot of the Seagram's Extra Dry Gin, would come out to 71 cents. That is ridiculously cheap.
Well, think about this. When you're bartending, right, most of your drinks where you're using alcohol, you're putting in, at the most, probably an ounce and a half.
Yeah.
Of any alcohol into that drink, depending on what it is.
Yeah, I've typically heard it's a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, so when you count it out, you know, pretty much you can rough estimate every second is like a quarter ounce. So 6 seconds would give you an ounce and a half as you're pouring it into the glass. And when you think about how much ounces are in that bottle, you are making that big profit upside when you're running that bar and everything. So I remember when I used to bartend, we used to make Long Island iced teas, and when I did it, there was 4 alcohols in it. Now most places only do 3, and some I think even cut down to 2. So the way the money and stuff gets involved, the way people are kind of, I don't say getting gypped on some of their drinks, but it's definitely changing up out there how things are being affected.
Now the Long Island iced teas, I can remember when they first come out around here. They would only sell you 2, and that was all you could buy.
Yeah.
The amount of alcohols added to the Long Island iced tea. So I'm sure by what you're saying is they've cut back on the amount of alcohol in it now. But I can remember 2 was the limit because people was getting so crazy on it.
I'm trying to remember what we used for the formula. I think it was gin, it was vodka, it was tequila, and then it was another clear, and then you put in sours and a splash of Coke. And now a lot of people have dropped out the tequila, and some places may make a variance on the other alcohol. So we went to lunch at one of the places here last weekend, and they have a special where they were doing 32-ounce Long Island iced teas for $6.99, and I just knew that's not your actual Long Island. They modified a lot of stuff to get it to that low cost.
Yep.
It's dumbed down.
We're putting very little alcohol in, a lot of ice and a lot of sours.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Hey, I was at a store yesterday, and then I'm going to let Eric and John tell us about their gin. I was at a store yesterday, and you know how much they had that Seagram's 750 milliliter bottle for?
$15.
$9.97.
Good grief!
That's a good price, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so John and Eric, give us a little quick rundown of your gins, and then we'll close it out, I guess.
Go ahead, Eric.
I'm getting on the flavor. I mean, mine's 47.3%, and I'm definitely getting the notion between the Seagrams that I remember in your descriptions that mine has definitely got much more of a warming sensation. Now, if I do whiskeys straight or neat or any other kind of higher alcohol, even like a percentage beer, I will start like right in this region, get that kind of a burning sensation. It doesn't burn all that much, but there's definitely a strong, I guess, like a warming sensation that goes towards the lungs and then down into the stomach. But that's kind of what I'm getting, and I'm definitely getting that juniper, piney sort of notes. I think there's a little bit of maybe like an orange peel. There's definitely some kind of herbal or maybe like a coriander kind of a spice. But to me, that medicinal medicine alcohol burn is the first and the most prominent kind of a flavor that I notice. This would not be, unless I was just going to do the whole thing really quickly, this would not be the alcohol that I would choose to just drink neat. I definitely like the bourbons and the scotches a lot better neat, and other types of whiskey, I suppose. But in the gin and tonic, I think it works much better. I think the tonic and that piney note really mesh really well. It gives you a tart sensation that once you put the lime juice and you squeeze the lime in there, it really gives it a nice tart, effervescent kind of a crisp, refreshing kind of a feel. The burn's not there as much, but you get much more of the piney juniper notes and some of the spicy notes. Not so much of an orange anymore, but I notice it's more piney and it's more sort of spiced. But I like it much better mixed than straight for sure, the London Dry.
Let me ask you this final question, and then we'll go to John. Would you recommend people buy that particular Tanqueray?
Absolutely. They make several different ones, but this is probably the most common one. It comes in that stereotypical green-looking bottle.
Oh, with the red.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the common Tanqueray, you would recommend it. Okay. And John.
I mean, I think if I drank beer the way I drink this, I'd have a lot of hot beers. But, to me, I mean, I like to put it in my mouth a little bit, swirl it around before I swallow it. You get that big heat off of it. When it goes down, you maybe lose a little bit of it. But you get that grainy taste. You get a little bit of the citrus in it. You get a little bit of maybe the piney stuff in it. But, I mean, overall what you're getting out of this, it's a very clean, it's very straightforward. I like gin. I like gin martinis. I like it straight. I don't like to flavor it up with different flavors. But, I mean, overall, I mean, I'm a gin drinker. I'd much rather have this over vodka or any other clear.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Overall, I mean, I'm a great big gin dry fan. So
Can you show that? Can you show that label once more? Because I'm gonna do a little research later on that brand. Royal Cellars Gin.
It says right here on the bottom of it, bottled by County Line Distilleries, Los Angeles, California, Bardstown, Nelson County, Kentucky.
Oh, County Line. That's Sazerac. That's
Kentucky.
Sazerac. That's your This
was before Sazerac.
This is your What? They've been around since 1850. This is your Pappy Van Winkle people.
Yeah,
they probably didn't buy it out when they first started the Royal Cellars.
No, this was well before them. So.
Okay, you say so. Now,
hey, I was gonna say, you guys know the history of the shot glass? Because Eric was using a shot glass.
No.
You guys don't? Okay, so
go on. I want to hear it.
It actually goes back to the days of the Wild West, when you always see in a movie people go in and used to just get the bottle and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they used to go in and do that, but the way it came out of it is that when people were going in and something would happen, like altercation, the bartender wouldn't give them the bottle, or they would just ask for a shot of it just in case they didn't come back in because they were going out to a gunfight.
Oh,
So that's how we got the name of being a shot glass. It was a little drink they would pour into that little glass. They would hit a swig. They would go out, and if they got killed, I mean, they were gone. But it was got the name of a shot glass over the years.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
I thought Ron might have known that from Ron's got all the trivia, so I thought he might surprise me and know that one as well. It's always dangerous questioning Ron on trivia because Ron knows so much.
yeah, and that would be applicable, and that story is applicable to many of our cities in America today. Now,
I don't mean to deviate here, but well, it's not really a deviation too much, but I'm looking up that Royal Cellars gin on Google, and I'm finding little to almost zero information on that gin.
I'm gonna get back on that because I have a feeling I know where to look. Hey,
Good. All right.
last question: would you buy the Seagrams gin extra dry again? Now, I'm gonna say this: would I buy? I certainly would if I was looking to drink gin, and I don't know if I ever will again. But I'm gonna.
No.
I will finish that bottle. I can guarantee you. And secondly, would I recommend it? I would strongly recommend it. Strongly recommend it, without any hesitation. I guarantee you I would recommend it. It's wonderful, I think.
Well, I would buy it again. I enjoy it. I would buy it again if I wanted a gin to drink neat. If I wanted a gin that I was going to probably mix, I may go more Tanqueray, and that's kind of the reputation Tanqueray has.
Yep.
Being the mixing type gin. So
You normally find Tanqueray and Bombay Sapphire and maybe Hendrick's gin, but I don't notice much other kinds of gin when you're at a major or you're at your typical town pub or anything like that.
Does that speak well for the product when people are saying they like it straight?
I would say so.
I think so. I think it shows the classic design of it and the character of it and the well-made product that people don't want to mix anything. It's kind of like if you get a good steak, you don't want to put anything on it, right? If they say if you need A1, then it's not a good steak.
Well, it's kind of like what Rod J said earlier. I mean, with the bourbon and Coke, you want a good bourbon. You don't want to waste a good bourbon with Coke.
Right.
And now that we're finished, I'm going to say one more thing that we're at. Now that we're at, Eric,
A1 is for Burger King lovers.
Eric does not speak for me. I have a bunch of stuff lined up for the next few months. I'm just going to throw it out there. If you want to join, fine. If you don't want to join, that's fine too. I'm not a pressure person.
Sure.
But I have 3 cognac. What am I saying? I have 6 cognacs ready to roll. I've already cracked one open. I cracked open the Salignac. Been around since 1809. I've got Cognac Landy from France, Landy, and I've got Courvoisier VS. Those are 3 we can look at. I'm going to do them solo, but if you want to do an online, we can do that. After that, in the next 3 months after that, I've got Hennessy VS, I've got Hennessy Privilege VSOP, and I've got Hennessy Black. I'm just letting you know that's out there. If you want to join me, I don't know what you think about brandy or cognac. You might have a negative opinion about it.
Seems like they market all of that Hennessy towards like rappers and hip hop guys.
The Hennessy?
Yeah, they seem like they're always in those commercials drinking Hennessy from the bottle. I'm like,
Well,
oh wow.
Well, that's what Tanqueray is. That's what Snoop wrote about gin and juice. That's Tanqueray.
Well, got Sister Rock or whatever it's called.
No, Eric is not incorrect. In fact, there's something to what he's saying. And
I don't know what it is about Hennessy. Maybe it just seems like it's a classier spirit overall.
It's a smooth drink.
It's expensive. I have never tried it in my life, but it costs a good amount.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. If you get on the Seagrams website and you click on where it says their 2015 models, and I find it strange that they didn't update their website to the 2016 models, and I noticed their Facebook page wasn't really very updated. But you'll notice that there's definitely a target audience for Seagrams gin, just like with Hennessy in America.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently also Hennessy is extremely popular in China.
That's crazy.
China, it's huge. And in Vietnam, of course, because France used to own Vietnam. But
I'm talking about gin bourbon. I don't know if you knew this or not. The biggest bourbon bar used to be in Tokyo. which was in the world, which was crazy. We actually just got it back here in Kentucky at one of the places here, but
Yeah, you're right.
no one ever thought they'd have the biggest bourbon bar. So over to Asia, they drink so many different things between China and Japan and the other countries.
Yeah. Now, what bourbon bar are you talking about, Roger?
I don't know what the name of the one is over there. I'd have to look online. The one that here is in Newport, Kentucky, right across the border from Cincinnati.
Okay.
And by the largest bourbon bar, what they mean, they have the most bourbons on hand. I mean, so you can get anything pretty much in the world at this bourbon bar.
Yeah, there's a really popular. It's called Yamazaki, Yamazaki. That's a really popular brand of whiskey that's coming out of Japan right now, and apparently the Far East is doing really, really good and interesting things with whiskeys around the world.
Okay, well, we're going to close it out, but
That later.
but last comments up. But I do have those cognac brands in my cabinet if you're interested. But I'm not going to keep saying, let's do it. I'm saying it's there. You let me know if you're interested. If not, that's fine. I'm going to do the reviews anyway. And that's interesting. That's very interesting about Tokyo. And but you could go on and on forever. You get so interested in it, and then it goes on forever. But I appreciate y'all joining me. And
well, thanks for letting me jump in with you guys.
Huh?
Thanks for letting me jump in with you guys.
Thanks for having me on here. So.
You're welcome. I'm sorry John and Eric couldn't get the Seagrams. That would have been the best option, but it was still interesting and fascinating with their other counterpoints. Now, am I tempted to do the MIMS and the TACA? Well, of course I'm tempted, but I'm not going to do it because I got to focus on this brandy. I got to focus on this sherry. I cannot do everything. I cannot do everything. Because if I do that, then I'll never get to the whiskey and bourbon. I'll be 80 years old saying, well, it's time to start doing the whiskey and the bourbon. If I live that long, you know. All right, so thanks, folks, for watching. Last comments? Any last comments? Mine is thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks, Justin, for the question. And that name of that bar, John, is Bourbon and Broad in Newport, Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm not too. I'm an hour from there probably, so.
Okay.
Might check it out. So
where are you at again, John?
I'm just right on the other side of the river from Louisville.
All right. Well, you come up. Let me know because I'm here in Kentucky. I'm like an independent, so I'm just outside Cincinnati.
Okay. So yep.
I'm actually closer to Cincinnati, but I'm not that far from Louisville.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're familiar with Florence, Kentucky?
Yeah, I used to live. That's the first city I lived in, Kentucky, when I first came here after college.
Oh, okay.
Florence, y'all.
All right.
I will tell you one thing before we jump off there. This goes real good with a great big fat cigar.
Ooh. Yes. Might light one up.
Hey, I was just in Louisville, and I went to Kentucky. I went to Cincinnati to see